Hello everyone. In this lecture, we'll be covering group by clause. In the previous lecture, we have already covered different functions. If you have not watched the previous video, please go through it before going through this lecture because we'll be using the knowledge in the previous one into this lecture. So as the name suggests, group by clause. So group by is basically used when you want to group some column on the basis of certain criterias, or you just simply want to group a given set of column or columns. So the condition how to use group by clause is the syntax. Basically you write select and then you write the name of the column. It could be one or multiple columns. Then aggregate function. Aggregate function, if you remember in the previous lecture we have covered, there are 5. Sum for summing up, minimum, maximum, min, max. Then we have count, and then we have the fifth one as average. And then we have from which particular table you give from table name, and then group by and the name of the column for which you are grouping. Suppose we have to count the number of employees in a given department or in each department. We will be grouping the employees on the basis of department ID. Let's see how this is going to be done. So first let's see our table which we have. This is our table, employee info, and you can see here the result. We have total 10 records or 10 rows in this, and in these 10 records we have department IDs as 1, 2. 1 is being repeated 3 times, 4 is repeated 3 times, 2 is repeated 2 times, and 3 is repeated 2 times. So now we have to do is we have to make a grouping on the basis of department ID. The question says to count the number of employees in each department. Okay, so we can clearly see that we need to group the data on the basis of department and then count the number of people in that department. So we have to write select. Now I'll be using aggregate function count, and I'm going to count employee ID and then department ID from name of the table. Table name is employee info, and then our function which is called as group by. Now we are going to group it on the basis of department ID. So we'll write department ID semicolon, select it all, and then run it. Now you can see we have department ID as 1, 2, 3, and 4. All the information is now grouped on the basis of department ID, and the rest information, that is employee ID, it is calculated from employee ID. It is counting all the employee ID in a given particular department. So you must remember one important concept here is whatever the column name that you are giving other than the one on which group by is being used. So what I'm trying to say is here the group by is used on department ID. So any column other than department ID must come with aggregate function. So in the above example you see employee ID I have used. So I have used an aggregate function count over it. So that is mandatory. You cannot use without aggregation function. Okay, what will happen if I just suppose if I want to get the names also, employee name, will it give me the result, the desired result? Let's see if I run it. So you see I'm not getting correct result, whereas if I write minimum of salary in each department. And now you see I'm using aggregate function over the salary. So will I get the result or not? I'll select it and I'll run it. Now you see I'm getting the minimum salary as well. Okay. At the last you can see, because this is the third column. So you can have multiple columns in this, but the condition is you must have a aggregate function attached to other columns other than the one that you are using with group by ID. So we have done the minimum salary. Now we can also use where condition, where clause with this group by. Suppose we have to find the sum of all the salaries that like if it is greater than 60,000 in each department. So what question says is uh, sum of all the salary if it is greater than 60,000. Sorry. If the salary is greater than 60,000 in a given department, what you have to do is you have to sum up. So before doing that, let's just check out our table again. So in this particular table, what we can see is the employee salary is here 50,000, then we have 60,000, and for we are just considering department 1, and then we have 30,000. So if we have greater than 60,000, so we can see that none of the person here in department 1 are going to qualify to that thing, because one we have equals to 60,000, but the condition says more than 60,000. So no one from the department 1 is going to be like filtered into this criteria. So let's see, write the code for that. We'll write select. What we have to do is we have to find the sum of employee's salary. We have to find the sum of the employee salary, and the condition what is grouping being done on. So condition for grouping is department ID. We are grouping on the basis of department ID. So that is the second column. Then we have from which particular table, name of the table. And then we have the condition, that is where employee salary is greater than 60,000. And then we have group by department ID. One thing you must remember is that group by always comes after the where clause. You cannot use group by before where clause. So you should remember this thing, and sometime it is even asked in interview, can we write group by clause before where clause? Sorry, no, we cannot do that. Okay, in this case we'll select it and run. So you see department 2 is having this much of salary sum, and department 3 is having this much of salary sum. Okay, and before moving further ahead, let me tell you one thing. Please do not consider this SQL lecture as a dedicated lecture for Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Nothing. It is nothing related to that. I'm just using this platform to explain you the queries. You can even use Postgre. You can even use DB2 from IBM, or you can use the Rackle itself. It's anything, any platform which you feel is good enough for you, you can use it. Under no circumstances I'm telling you that okay, I'm teaching you Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, no, that's not the case. I'm just trying to use it as a simple platform and nothing more. Okay. So two conditions we should remember that I have told. First, any column that you are using into the select statement that is not in the group by statement must be used within aggregate function. And second is where clause comes before group by clause. So this was all about group by clause. Now we'll go for having clause. So having, basically it's more like or similar to where clause, but this is not exactly the same. Okay, we have some differences here, but having clause is similar to where clause. In this we have certain conditions that are to be fulfilled, and on the basis of that grouping is being done. So it defines condition that is then applied to the group of rows. And second thing is used always with group by clause. You cannot use having separately. You have to use group by clause, only then you can use having clause. Okay, the syntax is very simple. Select, up to now, up to here it is same as the group by clause. Only one extra line you have to add is having, then the given condition. Suppose the question says sum of salaries of all employees from the department 1 and department 2. So what we have to do is we want the sum of all the employees. So we already have employee salary here. Okay, and then we have department ID, and then we have from employee info. Now instead of this, our question says if the department ID is equals to 01 or 02, that is the condition. So I'm going to group on the basis of department ID. Let's see what we are going to get for this. So we are going to get this. Okay, now out of this result we just need, our condition says having department ID in. So in basically is a command or statement that gives us the opportunity to select from a given list. When I say list, so anything written in this double quotes will be serving as a list. So we have a list of numbers or list of items, and it's like a basket, and we are going to search in that basket. Okay, so in that case we are using in. So in, so our basket has 01 and 02. So department ID is going to be searched in a basket which is having two numbers, that is 01 and 02. When this condition matches with department ID, we are going to get the result. Okay, up to here the result is there. Okay, the computer has calculated, the SQL has calculated the result, and here you see the result. The next line puts a condition on that. Now it is going to check whether the department ID is into that basket. So basket says 1 and 2. So we are going to get only first two rows, and that is the answer. So it is very similar to having where clause, but there are certain conditions. We'll cover basically the difference between where clause and having clause at later stage. But as of now, it is, you can think of it that this is similar to have like where clause, but it is used always with group by. And let's see another example here. In is done. In is like searching from given basket. Now let's see, there is one more word that is used like more frequently. Suppose we want to find the sum of the salaries if it is between certain ranges, right? So having, so we are going to have the salary, sorry, we are going to have employee salary. Sum of the employee salary is between 60,000 and, so and is an operator which we have already covered in Boolean operators. So between 60,000 and 90,000. So let's see. So the question says select the sum of employee salary grouped on the basis of their department ID. Now the condition which I'm putting over this is the sum of that salary which are being calculated on the basis of grouped department ID should lie between this, okay, this number. So if I run it, so no one falls into this category. Let's reduce it. Let's see if it is 50,000. Still no one. Let's make it 10,000, 1 lakh. Now let's see how many people come into that. Okay, no one is falling into that category. Let's just check it first. How how many people are falling into what category. So okay, so we have 1,60,000. So, and this is 3. Okay, so let's make it 1 lakh, and let's make it 5 lakhs. Not 5, let's make it 4. Now if we run it, now you see we have three departments whose salary is in between 1 lakh and 4 lakhs. Okay, so that is a pretty simple question, and the way how you can use having clause. Okay, okay, let's delete this and let's come with very basic query. So this is my query, sorry, which gives us all the data, right? We have all the data. What if I want to understand what is the top two people getting, like what is the salary that top two people are getting, or what is the salary bottom two people are getting? In that case, we use a function called as top clause. Okay, so what happens with this is this particular function is going to give us first n rows. When I say first n rows, there is a trick here. When I say first, basically it is suppose we have a list of numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. It's in ascending order. If I say I want first two, so it depends, like on the order as well. If I have the ascending data, I'm gonna get 1 and 2, but if we have descending order data, that is 10 9 8 7 6 something, then we'll get the bottom two. Okay, so you can use it with a bit of cleverness, like how to use this to get the bottom two or the top two. It is all in your hand, just you have to flip the data. So it is going to give us first n rows, that is coming into your way. And second catch is you have to always use this with order by clause. Until unless you have ordered it like either in ascending order or descending order, you cannot use the top clause. Like I said, you have a data in either 1 2 3 4 format, or it's 10 9 8 7, something like that format. Okay, so the order is compulsory, so you must use top clause only with order by clause. The syntax is very simple. Select top n rows from given column. So the name of the column here, top n from which column you are using. So top n column from given table, order by column name. And then if you do not write anything, it is going to take ascending order. And if you want it in descending, you have to write DESC. So if I want top two salaries here, okay, so here we have 50,000, and then this is 3 lakhs, I suppose. Which one is highest? It's suppose this is just 10 rows, right? And it's quite confusing for me to find which one is the highest one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply use select top. I want top two, and top two is basically being applied on which particular column I want it on salary, because I want top two salary, right? Top two salary. Oh, sorry. EMP salary from employee info table. Anything else? Top two salary from employee info table. Yes, we are missing order by. Now the order is being done on employee salary. Remember, we are going to filter the data on the basis of salary itself. So we are applying the order on the employee salary itself. So if I run it, so I'm getting, okay, just a second. Yeah, it was in ascending order. I want in top two salaries, basically the highest paying one. So I have to arrange in descending order. Sorry, descending order first. So these are the highest salaries being given by the company. What if I also want the names of the people? So I'll write EMP name, and then if we run it, we'll also get the name. So Ankita is getting the highest salary, followed by Shreya. Now you see we have a column here, EMP salary. Okay, it does not looks good, right? So what we can change it, we can change it to some other name, whatever we want, and that name can be given as alias. So I'm going to call this column the as salary instead of EMP salary, and I'm going to call the EMP name as just simply name. Okay, now if I run it, you see the columns name that is here, employee salary, and EMP name will get changed. So this AS is being used to give a secondary or the temporary name to the columns which we are using. Okay, these names are aliases. Even if you skip it, it is going to be the same, but it's a good practice to write whenever you are using alias, write AS. And this aliases can be given, or the temporary names can be given to the columns, or you can also give it to the tables also, right? When do we give it to table? We'll cover that in join. Like we'll be using two different tables, and then we'll be using a name, shorter name for one table and shorter name for other table, because it's like time consuming. Suppose employee info is one table, and then if I have to write every time employee info, and there will be another like department info, so it is quite boring sometimes. So I'll write just as select star from employee info as A, and this means now employee info is referred as A. And if I want anything, I can print from here. Suppose A dot, I suppose this is going to work, A dot employee salary. So this is going to give me the salary of all that table. So this is useless if you are working with only one table, but it is like it will be very helpful when you have multiple tables. So you can apply this aliases on column names as well as table names. Let me give you an example where this will make a sense. Suppose we have select sum, and then we have employee salary and employee name from employee info. That's it. Okay, let's add group by clause, group by department ID. Now if I run it, you see what's happening here. Okay, group by department I. Okay. Now you see this sum, and we know that this is the sum of the salary, but it is not written here. How would I know what exactly the data we are getting? It's just one single column, then it's okay. We know that we are writing it for the salary, but we do not have any column name. So it's better to write here salary, or the best practice is to write this way, and we have the headline. So heading says it's the salary column, so that's much more easier to recognize in this case. Now we'll sorry. Now we have date and time function. This is one of the most widely used function that you can use to get the date. And with my experience, I can say, since I have been using different platform, I've used DB2 and this SQL Server and Oracle, and in fact Postgre. So what happens is there are times when one function is not going to work in other platforms. So what you can do is you can always refer to their documentation like you can check which particular function is working for that. So you see there is a function called as get date. It is going to give us current date and time. Okay, similarly timestamp, current timestamp is also going to give us the same thing, but this is not going to work. This now function is also doing the same, but this will not work with most of the platform, but this is going to work with Impala. Okay, the day of the week is also going to work with Impala. To date is going to work with that. Okay, so like you have to check date difference is going to work in this case also. Date add is going to work with this case. So let's see these all commands and understand how these things are going to work. So we have get date, select get date. On executing this, you can see we have got the current date and time. Okay, now if we have date name, we just want the month out of it. Okay, so date name is the function. You can get the month, year, or in fact the day. Okay, you have to pass two arguments. First is like whether you want it as a month, or then you have to put the current timestamp. Okay, if you just run current timestamp, you can see here you're getting all the uh, suggestions here. You can always run those suggestions. Okay, sorry, what? Okay, I cannot use this. And I get this same output as get date, right? So similarly, the get date name is gonna give us like month, year, or the day. And then we have a function called as date difference. This is going to tell what is the difference you want to calculate. Suppose I want to calculate the difference of today's and what is the difference between this particular date and this particular date, and in that difference what particular you are looking for. You are looking for difference in month or year, so you can just mention it. So I want what is the difference in month from this particular day, January 10, 2022, to current time. Today we have March, so it should be approximately 14 month, and you see the answer is 14. Then we have date add. You can add year or month or days to a given time. Okay, here we have current timestamp. Instead of this, you can even write any particular date and just you want to add year and how many years you want to add. If I run this, so you see this is the time or date of 10 years ahead from now. Okay, so today we have a 22/3/23, and this is 10 years ahead, 33. So rest of the things are same. Okay, so this is with the date timestamp. Okay, so now moving back to one of the most yeah, so one thing that I said, you can check the documentation of each platform, or you can visit W3 School. They have a good list of all the commands that is available. And now we have one very important concept that is to be covered is copy table or copy database. Why do we need a copy? Okay, the basic example that I'm going to give you is, suppose you have a data set and by mistake some of your intern or even you press a delete button. What's going to happen? You're going to lose all your efforts, all your data into just one single click. So it's good practice to keep a backup of all your data. And whenever you are going to work, always work on the copy of the data. Do not touch your original data. Once in a month or twice, you can modify your data, like the main data source, but you should always make a habit. Okay, you should make a habit to not touch this, and always have a copy of that. So let's see how to make a copy of a database, and then we'll check how to uh, copy a table in some other database into our current database, and then how to make a copy of a table in the same database. Okay, so let's first see how to copy a table from different database. So we'll make a new database called as copy db. Db is basically database, and to make that, we know the command is create database, and Once we have created, we should also use that. We should be inside the database to create any table. So what we are going to do is we are going to run the second command, which says use copy db. So basically we'll be using that database, we'll be entering into the copy db. In that particular database, we are going to make a table called as department HOD info with the attributes as department ID, department name, department HOD, sex, and experience. So all the data types are written here, and then we'll be running this query to insert some of the data into that, and then we'll be checking if all the data that we have just set is entered or not. Okay, just a second. From here to here, let me run it. Okay, first run this separately. Okay, then this, and now since you can see here we are into copy db, now we can run create table. So it is run. Now we have to put the insert one. We have to insert some data into that, and then we can check if the data entered is correct or not. Okay, so this is what we have currently into our database, that is department ID, department name, and all those things we have filled up with certain data. Okay, and if you refresh it here, you can see, let me refresh it once more. Okay, there is some issue here, I suppose. No worries, it's not refreshing. Yeah, now it's refreshed. So we have this copy db here and employee db here. In copy db we have a table called as department HOD info, which is to be copied into employee db. And how we are going to do is, so in this we have department info and employee info. These two tables we already have in this, and what we have to make is a third table here into employee db. So for doing that, first we have to go to employee db. So use, we'll go to employee db. Now we are into employee db. You can see at the bottom employee underscore db. Okay, that is done. Now the table name of the table, we are going to keep it as HOD details. The new table which we are inserting, that is it earlier database, it was called as department HOD info. Now we are naming it as HOD details into this employee database. Okay, so select star, that means select all the rows and columns, all the rows, definitely the column will come follow on. Then we use command into. So into is basically going to make a copy into this particular table. This is the name of a new table. Okay, and from where we are going to copy from, we are going to copy from the database, name of the database, then dbo dot department, which particular table, table you are going to copy. So we are going to run this command, and then further we are going to check our new table. You see we have written select star into HOD details. So this is what we are going to run. Okay, just cross verifying in which database we are. Okay, we are in employee db, that's good. Now we'll execute this, and you see 4 rows affected. The new table, if you run it here, even without running the last command, we can check it here in tables. You can see it should be, yeah, HOD details. If you click here, you can see the name of the columns here, department ID, and all those things. Okay, even if you click here, you can see the design. How does it look? So if we have department name, where care, department HOD, and all those things. Okay, this is data type, whether you have allowed null or not. Even you can check, like if you want to keep the department as null, you can modify it from here, but we'll not do directly from here. We'll cover it in alter command. So that is all. Okay, No, I don't want to change anything. So let's see. Control enter. Not control enter, sorry. Okay, so this is the data. We have already copied it from there. Okay, so this is a way you copied it. Okay, now let's do it in this. Okay, this was from other database to into this. Now we are going to copy in same database. Select star into name of my table is emp copy, and from where we are going to copy, we are going to copy employee info itself, sorry, employee db dot dbo dot, the name of the table is employee info. So employee info is getting copied into employee copy. Now if I run it, we have a new table called as select star from emp copy, and if I run it, you can see this is the data. Okay, now if I change anything in this, it is not going to get reflected into the original table. So these two are different tables. Like employee copy is a mirror of that, but anything that you're going to change in this copy table is not going to get reflected into this original table. So you are safe with your data. Now we have done the copying. Now suppose we want to modify. Now the whole purpose to make a copy was to modify the data safely. Okay, now since we have made a copy, we are going to understand a command called as alter command. This particular command is going to help us add any new column, drop any. When I say drop, it is basically as of now you can remember it like deleting or removing any column. Okay, so adding a column and removing a column, and that too on the two constraints. One, without constraint, and with constraint. When I say without constraint, like no boundaries, you can remove any table on the, like under any circumstances, add any column under any circumstances. And with constraint, like with some certain criterias. Okay, and okay, okay, let me cover it. So it is used to reassign and rebuild partitions or disable or enable the constraint and trigger. We'll understand this second line in a more detail as we cover it in examples. So in alter statement, first we'll go with adding a new column. So our table was employee info. We have made a copy of that as employee copy. In that particular thing, suppose if we want to add a new column called as bonus without any constraint, like there is no condition with this particular column. And since bonus is in percentage, we'll keep it as a decimal. So the syntax goes by like alter which particular table you are going to enter. So alter table, the name of the table you are going to alter or change. And since we are adding a column, we'll use the command add. Okay, and the name of the new column, and then its data type. Okay, then you write null or not null, depend upon the condition, if you want the constraint or if you do not want. Okay, and then we also have add a new column. Okay, we'll cover that later. So we have, this is from employee copy. And now the first thing that we have to do is add a new column. So we'll write alter table. We are going to alter the table. Okay, so what is the name of my table? Name of my table is emp copy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add new column called as bonus. Okay, and the data type of that is decimal. So bonus will be like 19.20, something like so, 4 digits, and out of 4 digits 2 will be after decimal. And if we run this, it's executed. Now let's see if it has affected our table. So select star from emp copy. Now you see we have a bonus attached at the last, and the values are null, null, null. Okay, that is done. Now let's attach, like I add one more column. Okay, so alter table, and the name of the table is employee copy. We are going to add a new column called as promotions. Okay, like how many promotions he has got or she has got. So I'm going to keep it integer. You can write integer completely, or just int will be okay. So the condition is not null. Okay, if I'm giving it not null, so there is one catch here. You must use a keyword or the command default with this. So what default is going to do is, if it is not null, since you are telling it should not be null, then what particular value you are going to give? Because if you are going to make something and you are telling it is not to be left empty, that cell should not be empty, then definitely you have to put some value into that. So there comes the command default. Okay, so what default value should I give? So if somebody is joining a company, definitely if there is no promotions, so the default number goes to be 0, and this is my next command. Now let's see. You see the promotions have been added and we have 0 in that column. Okay, and this was done done in one single two different lines, right? We can even do it in single, like we can add multiple column. Okay, let's see. Let's create a new table. Create table, we'll be calling it as a dummy. Okay, and in that dummy table we'll keep two attributes, one as id of integer type and comma, and then we have promotion as integer type. Okay, let's not call it dummy, let's call it, okay, let it be, let it be, what should we call it? Let it be dummy. Okay, so this is my table. Okay, now we have to put some value into that. Let's copy paste. Okay, let's just check it. Select star from dummy, and we have, sorry, select spelling is wrong, and we have two columns, id and promotions, nothing more we have not, since we have not put any, inserted any data into that, so that is just giving me the schema or the skeleton of our table. Schema is basically a term that you can quite often, like you'll hear it quite often in SQL. So it's basically like the outer structure of your table or the skeleton of any body. So similarly schema is that thing. Okay, so if we want to alter table dummy and we want to add a new column called as gender, and we'll make it varchar. So this basically is going to tell, this exercise is going to tell you like we can add multiple columns in one time. So this is not going to be null, and as I said, if it is not null, then we have to give some default value. And by default, let's make it male, and then we have, since id is already done, let's make it instead of id, what can we have? What could be some unique? Okay, just a second, I'll just do one thing. Ignore this line as of now. Alter table dummy, So in our table we just have one single column called as age. Let's drop it. Okay, so we are making a new table called as dummy with two variables, two attributes, age and promotion. Age will be an integer, promotion will be an integer, and that is done. Let's see it. So it is done. Now we are going to add two new more columns into that, and these two columns are called as gender. And if nothing is entered, I'll be putting it as male. And the second column, let's make it ID, and this is going to be integer, and we are going to add a constraint to it. So ID should be unique, right? So that is why I'm going to put a constraint on that. So the constraint says this ID integer constraint, we have to write constraint, then we have to write a reference name for the constraint. Reference name is basically, it's like a shorthand name or the temporary name being given to the constraint. What kind of constraint? If I'm asking, uh, suppose if I have to tell somebody, or if I have to give a hint like what is the constraint that is being applied on this column, I'll say that I'm applying a constraint called as pk. So pk basically will refer to some constraint that is written as a shorthand form as pk. So pk, okay, I'll write id underscore pk. So this is the name of my constraint, a reference name, it is not exact name. And what exactly this means is, this means primary key. Okay, so this constraint of primary key will be referred as idpk for this particular column. That is why this is called as reference constraint name. Okay, now if I have to run it, I'll add semicolon at the last, and I select this and execute it, and it's done. Now if I see my table, so we have age, promotion, gender, and ID. Okay, okay, this is done. Now let's see my old, this was for a dummy, right, to add a new column. Now let's see my old copy of employee. So this was my table. Now let's see what is the data here. Okay, so bonus is null null null. So this was a loss making year, and I am sorry to say that I will not be able to give bonuses to my employees. What I have to do is I have to remove this bonus from my this whole column should be dropped. I do not want this column. So this is also altering or changing the table, right? So again we'll use a form of alter command. So we are going to use alter. Now we are going to see the utilization of, just now we have seen add, now we are going to see drop. So we are going to alter the table. Okay, okay, first again select star from emp copy, this will use to run. Okay, now we have to use alter command. Okay, and the name of my table is emp copy. Okay, this is my table, and in this particular table I have to use a command called as drop. Drop basically suggests or tells the SQLs that kindly remove this particular column. So we are going to remove what? I'm going to remove the column. So drop column, I'm going to remove bonus because I am not in a state to give bonus to my employees. Okay, you can write bonus and then semicolon, and then you can click delete and it will be deleted. And even you can write multiple columns here. Let me write motions. Okay, and this will be deleted if it is not being utilized at some places, like this promotions is being used by some other table, so it will not be easy to drop in that case. So if it is not being used, it will be easily dropped. Okay, so you see I am not able to drop bonus. Okay, let's see this. if it is working. Okay, that's surprising. Oh, spelling mistake. Bonus and promotions. No bonuses, no promotions. Spelling is good. And promotions field because one or more objects access this column. So that's what I was telling, like if it is being utilized at some place, it is being utilized under any circumstances with any constraint, so it will not be easy to remove. Okay, no issues. I'll just remove this because this is creating problems. So I'll just remove the bonus and see it is removed. Let me run it and just see we are left with promotions here. So we just saw the utilization of this is like use of dropping one single column. If I drop, like if I do not want this backup, okay, drop table E. I can even completely drop the table. My table was employee copy and I'm going to delete it from my memory, and cannot drop table because it does not exist or you do not have permission. Okay, then what should I remove? Let me remove department info. Not department info, let me remove HOD details. Will I able to do that? Yeah, it's removed. Refresh. It's not yet refreshed. You can still see HOD details, no issues. Let me select star from HOD details. If I get data, it means it is not dropped. Invalid object name, so that means it is dropped. So with dropping, we can do it dropping a single column or dropping whole table. We can do that both. Okay. Now let's make another table called as create table manager. Okay, this is the name of my table. I'm going to make a new table called as manager, and in this we are going to do for first name and we are going to have characters. So in this we will have 20 characters. Okay, and then we have ID, and that will be in decimal. Suppose like usually name should be in varchar and ID should be integer, but anyway I am just making this mistake knowingly. Now let's, oh shit, okay, yeah, so this is run. Now let me check. Select star from, we have this table manager. Now if I run it, you see F name and ID, boom, it's working. Okay, why did I do that? I did it to teach you one very important and last topic of this class, and that is, suppose if we want to like change the definition of a column, in that case also we are going to use alter command. When I said definition, so you see when we were writing our description to create a table, we wrote f name. So this is going to be name of our the name of the attributes or the name of the columns, f name, that is first name. Then we have ID, and then we have written it wrong. Character, it is like we know that a name should be varchar. Okay, so the data type is written wrong. Okay, in fact if we go for ID, the data type here again is wrong. Okay, so we can even change this definition, how we have defined our table. So to do that, we'll write alter. Again we are going to change the table, so alter table. And which table? Manager table. In this we are going to alter what? Column f name, and we are going to make it varchar. So This is one way you can get 20 here. So this is just changing the like data type of your or the definition of your column. But this is not limited to just to data type. We can in fact change this size also. Okay, so we can make it 30. So the size is also changed. So that's all. We can change the definition. We can definition of any column. We can add new columns. We can remove or drop new columns out of a table. So these three things we did in alter. Okay, I have a question for you. Can we change this f name also? Can we alter the name of the column as well using alter command? That is your task to check and learn from Google. Okay, and that's all. And we'll cover joins in the next section, like next class. And I suppose after join, we'll be moving towards the advanced SQL. And that's all. Thank you so much.